Hello Internet, I'm Dan.
And I'm Chaz. This is Wine is Serious Business, episode
215.
Thank you. I already forgot. So we're here with one of our good friends, been a long-time watcher of the show, and it's actually been on a bunch of shows with us, Beau, who is doing it and has made some wine, and he's here to share it with us.
Chased his dream up here from
Extremely
California,
exciting.
and we're sitting with the inaugural vintage right now. So before we get into the wines, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, like what brought you to wine and why you wanted to make wine?
Sure, thank you both. 30, male, engaged to start. But joking aside, I've been around wine my whole life. My family and my dad, he was in the wine business for over 20 years, and it's kind of in my blood. And after visiting Oregon, visiting you guys in 2010, I was ready to make a kind of a life-changing decision to move, and I knew I wanted to stay in the wine industry, so I decided to move up here and pursue my dream of wine, and that dream morphed into making wine. And so this is why I decided to make wine in 2012. I worked harvest in 2011 at my in-laws winery at Kramer Vineyards in Gaston, and then they encouraged me and supported me and kind of guided me a lot of the way through this project. And so I'm of course in deep debt to them for this.
That's awesome, though.
But yeah, this is it. 2012, I made 2 wines, and we're going to taste them tonight.
Yeah, which one should we do first?
I think the Tempranillo would be good to start with.
All right.
It's definitely showing a little friendlier right now than the Petit Verdot. So we shall see what you guys think
So,
on the show.
unlike if you've been following the show, you'd think the cliche would be, man moves here from California, man decides to make wine, man makes 4 different Pinot Noirs.
Yeah.
And sells them. Beau did not do that at all. Not a single Pinot Noir.
No.
So we're starting out with the Tempranillo. Why?
Well, the part of that is your fault.
Oh,
Actually, I remember
all
a
right.
conversation that Dan and I had in mid-2012 before harvest, and Dan and I were talking about alternatives to Pinot Noir, and I was discussing with Dan my thoughts on Petit Verdot and Rhone varieties, which I'm a huge fan of, and Dan made a very good point. The words you said to me were, why make the 185th best Pinot Noir in the Willamette Valley if you can make something unique and different? And that really stuck with me, and we are fortunate to be surrounded by stunningly good Pinot Noirs.
Oh,
So why would I try to not necessarily encroach, but why would I try to do something that probably someone else has done and done better than me? When I have a vision for grapes that I love and can work with, and maybe I can make something that everybody will love. So it's your fault in a way, but I think it worked out. So
Yeah.
Dan is part of the inspiration with Random Wine Company.
And able to find a good line on some fruit.
Yeah.
Right. While the Willamette Valley isn't quite as hot as you want for Tempranillo,
No.
plenty of other places in the Pacific Northwest are. Once you get east of the Cascades or south of, probably even south of Salem, maybe a little further south, southern part of the state, a lot of warm vineyards in the area.
Definitely,
So,
that's a big part.
And what
of it.
vineyard?
This is all from a single vineyard, a single block of a vineyard called Ellarding Vineyard.
All right.
There's several other producers that got grapes from there in the past. The vineyard was sold at the end of 2012, so a lot of us small guys can't get fruit anymore. But Horse Heaven Hills, AVA, just up the hill from the Columbia River outside of Prosser, about 15 miles south of Prosser. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Very cool. For earthy notes here, it reminds me more of like clay soil than like the like the forest floor that you get out of Pinot Noir.
Very poor soil, very rocky,
Alright.
disintegrated granite.
Okay.
Oh.
So and then sand, a lot of sand
Right,
in the area
yeah.
as well. So and on that, under that sand sits a clay base. So.
Okay.
Really makes sense when you're talking about it. Like you can kind of see it in the nose.
So it's got really nice blackberry fruit to it. It smells sort of pumicey almost at the same time.
And that's the mineral. I think the
Yeah.
minerality of this particular wine comes out as a pumice area. Only 3 barrels made.
Okay.
2 were neutral French barrels, and 1 was a twice-used French barrel that had seen Pinot Noir in it. That's it. So I like French oak. Everyone kind of who knows me knows I like French oak, and
Yeah.
I decided I think Tempranillo is very sensitive to oak, and is very sensitive to American oak, and so the chance to use French oak came up, and I jumped on it.
Nice.
So,
It smells sort of like blackberry and blueberry fruit, with maybe like a hint of like black licorice.
yeah.
And then those pumicey notes. It smells
Yeah,
good.
that pumice clay is really stronger than I've had it in
Yeah.
previous. But these are
Yeah.
bigger glasses. Than
Yes.
these. Been drinking it out of before too, especially Chaz's.
I got the big ass glass for the show, the Venom XL. Yeah.
my mom to see this.
Yeah, that's great, right? Good job. Good
Sorry,
job.
I've been watching too much. I've been watching too much. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah.
The clay I was talking about, or kind of the pumice he's talking about, comes through on the palate here. And this is interesting. This is kind of like a unique experience for me, where it is like an earthy component, but it's a type of earth that I haven't experienced so much before. I would say I would be like unsurprised if you told me like, oh yeah, the whole thing was done in concrete, but it wasn't, right? Not a drop.
If I had concrete,
Yeah.
I actually would have used it for this. One of my goals is to work with concrete. I really like what it can do with Tempranillo and with Syrah, Grenache. I think it works. I don't necessarily think it works as well with Pinot Noir, but don't tell the Oregonians I think that. But I think it can work for big reds very beautifully. So this was actually 20% whole cluster, so only 11 months in barrel. So, and finished malolactic fermentation 2 weeks before bottling.
All right.
So we racked it to tank right away to settle it, and bottled, unfined, unfiltered. So.
All right.
Good amount of acidity, I think.
Loads of it, yeah.
And I often have a problem with the tannins in Tempranillo, like them being like really too strong or too forward, and that is not the case here, right? Like these aren't.
They're still there. They're still very present, and they're still a very big part of the experience, but
Yeah.
not overwhelming.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is a 2012, so
yeah,
this is a wine I
this
think
is young,
it's a baby. It's released in November, basically, early
Right.
November. So
Yeah, the fruit's still very tightly wound to me. Like it's a lot of tart flavors, a lot of tart red berries. Really nice though, like great acidity, great lingering tannin. Yeah.
How do you feel about tannins in Tempranillo in general, and like how did that inform the decisions you made with this wine?
my experiences have been kind of like yours, I think, with slightly rougher tannins in a lot of younger Riojas and Ribera del Dueros, which are both regions in Spain I love. So in order to work with the tannins that I knew would be in this grape, that's why I did some of the whole cluster.
Sure.
And I really tried to balance it out where there was enough whole cluster to help with brightness and freshness, but it left enough tannin in there, it wasn't all absorbed by the lignified stems, that there would be some ageability and a framework for the wine to eventually fill itself into. And that's how I view tannins.
Awesome.
And that's my tannin management protocol, is more about the framework that the wine, the fruit in the wine, the savory elements, the fruity elements, they will all kind of build into this tannic framework of the wine. So I use acid as a supporting component of that because it's, you guys know as Riesling and Pinot lovers, acid is critical. You have to have acidity in wine.
You got it.
So.
Yeah.
So while the structure's light, I think it's still like it's still full on the wine, and it's kind of like you're saying like kind of this frame that the fruit hangs on. But it's really approachable right now, and we've tasted these wines before, and we were talking about this.
Yeah.
Like this one's really like kind of ready to rock, pleasant,
Yeah.
easy drinking, and just like enjoyable flavors right away.
I agree. I mean, this is, out of the two, this is the one that we've talked about so many times as being the
This is
consumer
the first time
friendly.
I've tasted these.
Okay, well this
Yeah.
this is fun.
Oh, I
This-
didn't know that either. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I've never had them yet.
I'll give you a little. I'll keep it brief, but
Yeah,
a brief
no, go
thing
for it.
on the Tempranillo is actually was. I don't know if I should say this in public record, but I wasn't super happy with this wine while it was in production in its barrel aging
Okay.
protocol. I thought it was just weird and disjointed and awkward. And once we bottled it, I started to say, wow, I actually really like this wine. It's a fresh, approachable Tempranillo you can drink right now.
Yeah.
It picked up this, for me, this savory top note that I really, at first, wasn't sure, is this reduction? Do I need to screw with the wine? And then we didn't screw with the wine, and it manifests as just kind of this really nice, pleasant, savory quality that I think helps. And so it's kind of fun to see you taste it now and kind of try to listen to what you're saying about the wine. So.
Right. No, it's got really like I said, the tart red berries. But as the wine's swallowed, like there's a lot of fresh fruit left behind.
Yep.
The savory notes do come through, but definitely aren't the most apparent thing to me. But yeah, very a really nice, easy drinking wine. So
Yeah, easy drink. And that's what I went for with this. The Tempranillos from Rioja, the Joven wines, those are meant to be drunk young, and I think this has some element of that in it. Drink it young, enjoy it.
So you said that that the vineyard was sold, so it's not
Yeah.
accessible anymore. If you had your way, would you make more Pinot? Or would you make more Tempranillo?
Yes.
In the future? All right.
I am looking for Tempranillo grapes.
You would? All right.
I would make it again in 2014. I didn't get to make it in 2013. I didn't get to make the Petit Verdot either.
Okay.
But I would happily work with Tempranillo again.
Yes, those
It's
of
such
you
a
with
fun time, yeah.
Tempranillo connections, get in touch
Yeah,
with
if
this guy.
you know anybody, and just
Yeah.
know I'm going to probably do it a little crazier, maybe 30-40% whole cluster and maybe concrete if I can find some. So
So was that where the name Random Wine Company came from? Because it's something random every year?
It is. Random Wine Company was inspired in part by my fiancee Becky and her sister Kim, and just discussing one night that I don't own any vineyards, so I have to buy grapes every year.
So, yeah.
So everything I make is at random.
Right, and I guess without truckloads of cash on the side, right? It's not guaranteed to be there from one year to the next.
Right. If there are truckloads, show me them in this business. I truly don't know where they are, but at the same time, I wouldn't trade this for anything. I think winemaking, if you like it, is one of the most fun things. Harvest, I mean, people talk about natural highs. Harvest, we all walk around with a natural high. Granted, we drink a lot of beer and wine too, but we walk around with a natural high because it's the greatest time of the year for us. So. Yeah,
so tell us a story. I guess between the two, like when the fruit came in, like when you taste the first grape, which one really caught your attention right away?
The Petit Verdot, far and away.
Oh, okay.
I was posting pictures up on Instagram and Facebook and all that. And Chaz was hitting like repeatedly on them when I picked them up. I remember that distinctly. And I remember tasting those Petit Verdot grapes.
Just exciting. Knowing you, it was exciting to watch it all come in.
And as an aside, the support that all of us in Oregon give each other in the wine community is pretty amazing. And I hadn't experienced that truly until I started making wine, and people reach out to you, unbeknownst to you. They're just like, "Oh, do you want this? Do you need help with this? How can I do this?"
And not just right.
It's not
family. It's like
just friends that you meet somewhere. Oh, if you need grapes, I can hook you up with this guy. So, but back to the original question, tasting, the clusters are vastly different clusters. I mean, to give an approximation on camera, the Tempranillo clusters were coming in about this big, and the Petit Verdot clusters were about this big.
And for people who don't know,
so that's
what's
a Pinot Noir cluster.
Yeah.
What we get up at Kramer, our clusters are this. So the Petit Verdot clusters, berry size was different a little bit, but it was likening that to Pinot Noir. So the Petit Verdot was just crazy concentrated berry. You just put it in your mouth and you snap it off and just like, wow. The Tempranillo was just a nice, ripe, grapey, dark taste. So I fell in love with the Petit Verdot right away. This is my favorite wine to make during production, and I would beg and plead to make Petit Verdot again. With even crazier things, more whole cluster and different oak regimens. So, yeah.
And what's the appeal of the grape to you in your past? Like, what made you think that? Like, honestly, even if I were feeling adventurous and I decided to get into making wine, like Petit Verdot comes my way, the curiosity would be there, but I don't think I'd be able to take the leap.
It is a function of wanting to do something different, and again, going back to what you told me about making the 185th best Pinot Noir, or maybe one of the better Petit Verdots. And I should say at the outset, I wasn't set out to make a wine better than your wine or his wine, her wine. You never set out to do that in winemaking, I don't think.
Right.
But I set out to make a wine I thought was really good and really fun and one I would drink. And I've loved Petit Verdot for a long time, back to my Trader Joe's days, working there and getting in some of the ones from California, from Rutherford especially.
Cool.
And they were gorgeous.
And what you were just saying about the cluster speaks to why, like, I don't see a lot at an approachable price point either. A lot of times, if you see 100% Petit Verdot, it's a $50 bottle, right?
These yields are tough. The fruit was extremely expensive to buy, to purchase per ton. So it's not the most friendly. It's not Pinot Gris. Let's just put it that way.
Sure.
The nose is definitely a touch richer on this one,
Yeah.
right? Like it's definitely stepping more towards like almost like a blackberry pie or like
I get plums. For me,
plums.
that's where I get out. There's a lot of ripe plum.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
And 2012 was a very warm year up and down the gorge, and as we know here in the Willamette Valley as well, pretty warm year. You get a lot of ripe flavors, and you really had to work with the grower to pick at a good time, so you maintained acidity and still got ripe flavors. So it was very challenging in that regard. But the quality of the fruit was incredible. No desiccation, no rot, nothing. Just beautiful clusters. So very little sorting, and
I'm getting like plums and blackberries on the nose, which is something I say a lot about Cabernet, but it doesn't have like the blackberry bramble that I get with a lot of Cabernets.
Are you drinking Cabernets with Petit Verdot?
Well, so there very well could be a component of that going on there too. Getting a touch of heat, and then also like a structural element that reminds me a little bit of honeycomb, which it's kind of a new experience to me. But
sure.
What kind of barrel treatment did this get?
These were 2 barrels made, so 48 cases, and they were both. One was Cadu, one was Francois Frere. I think the Cadu was medium plus toast, and then one was medium toast. So now,
All neutral.
yeah, they were 06 and 05 vintage barrels, and they'd been used several times for
Sure.
Pinot. I think Chard first at
Okay.
the Kramers, and then I think they'd used Chard and Pinot through. So they were pretty neutral at this
Nice.
stage, and that's why I picked them. I wanted the oldest barrels that I could find up there, and if someone had 30-year-old barrels, I probably would have bought those and used those. I think oak should kind of fill in a little bit, but it shouldn't be necessarily a flavor component of the wine unless the wine wants it. I didn't think these grapes wanted oak. I think I just want to show what the vineyard is. The soil, decomposed granite, clay base, sand on top. Older vines, 20-plus-year-old Petit Verdot vines, kind of really nice and gnarled, small concentrated clusters, and that's, I think, what the wine should show. So, this was a hoot to make.
I really like how the structure comes onto the palate. For something that smells like it's going to be this big punchy red wine. And again, I think, right, Petit Verdot's blended in a lot of cabs and Bordeaux, and I've got this association when I get these scents that it's going to be a lot of that going on when it comes onto the palate. This grape by itself, it's not. It's still like a full structure, but the tannins already have kind of a, maybe mature is the wrong word, but a little more elegant sense to them. They're full but not harsh.
Right. Very dry. Like they definitely have a good, strong grip on you.
Oh yeah.
While what's there, but a lot of flavor, both intact initially and then all the way through on the finish.
Well, that's actually, thank you for saying that about the finish, because that's one of the things that I've noticed about Petit Verdot is the finish can be very abrupt. And in this wine, we really worked on the tannin management protocols and really kind of gently just trying to get the wine to a place where the finish would be a little drawn out, have a little of an elegant tapering effect. So it's a little aggressive with the tannin right now. It's so young and a lot of acid in there, but I think I'm really pleased with how the finish turned out. It just kind of smooths out and a gentle taper to it. So
I like it.
I'm so in love with this wine, and obviously it's like my baby, so obviously I'm in love with both the wines, but the Petit Verdot has just been a true labor of love. I now understand the term with the wine. Tempranillo is a great wine to make, it's fun, it's fruity, it's exciting to drink now, but the Petit Verdot for me is just a next level wine that I love. So
Awesome.
yeah,
I really feel like the structural elements kind of like sit more forward on the palate, and this finish lasts on the back, which it was a really fun experience, and definitely something that I don't usually find, I guess, in entry level or as a first effort. Like, I think that's really cool that your intent to make a longer finish.
A lot of that too. It goes back to being able to have people like the Kramers who've been planted their vines in '84 and having them able to steer me in the right direction, give me options, and let me know if I was going to do something wrong. If one of my ideas was not a viable idea, was very valuable. And I think a lot of what these wines are speaks to their experience and them helping me and kind of saying, yeah, you can do this and this. And they did leave it to me as a choice, but also saying, I don't think you should do this. This isn't really something that would work. And my experience up to that point had been with Pinot Noir, Chardonnay,
totally.
Pinot Gris. And so I went into this with Big Reds. Who the hell makes Big Reds that I know? No one. Yeah. Now I know people that make it, so yeah.
Who's our friend Barnaby said he struggled with the same thing.
Yeah.
He was trying to make like German style wines, like Alsatian style wines, and people were worried because like the French winemaking tradition, like he was doing stuff wrong. Like, dude, you're gonna ruin that whole lot. So kind of breaking into some new ground, learning things that aren't part of the broad base of knowledge. That
you look at guys like John Groschau and
and
Marcus. I mean, holy crap! At Matella, what he does an amazing Syrah, and he does great Pinot Noirs and really beautiful Chardonnay. So, and, John does the same thing with great Pinot Noirs. I just love to drink
a large variety of grapes.
Yeah, so,
John works
these guys kind of blaze the trail.
Yeah.
In terms of showing that Pinot Noir makers or guys with a lot of experience Pinot can make incredibly compelling the bigger reds. And so that's very inspirational to me. And guys, like Hardy Wallace down in California, blogger turned winemaker, and his wines are incredible. I buy everything I can from the guy.
Oh, awesome.
William Allen, Two Shepherds too.
Yep.
To throw some names out there, guys like bloggers turned winemakers who make great wines, and I buy all I can. And so those guys are the inspirations to making wine. They show you that you can take a passion and turn it into some vaguely resembling a profession, I guess I would say. So yeah.
Awesome.
So also like the stakes are higher, right? When you've got such tiny lots, right? Like something
Your
terrible
bank
happens to
statement
one
is
barrel
smaller.
or whatever, right? Yeah, or just some bad luck and suddenly half of your
Yeah.
wine for the year is gone. Like,
Yeah, it's a big risk with 2 and 3 barrel lots. 1 ton lots, 2 ton lots is about as big as I go.
so how many
it's a
decisions do you really toe the line between playing it safe and doing something interesting? Like you were talking earlier about. You were worried about stuff being maybe a little reductive, and this guy is probably one of the most sensitive to
Extremely.
like oxidation and reduction that I know, and
So
so
much so you
that
have
had to
to
be
watch.
like you had to be like
Exactly.
sitting awake in bed at night sweating, right? Like,
There were
do I treat
several-
for it? Do I not?
Well, there were several nights during fermentation when I was kind of up really late saying, what's going to happen to my wines? What's going to go wrong?
Wow.
I really, in 2012 especially, I made my choices without the benefit of hindsight and not working with grapes. So I made some choices that maybe more people might say, why did you do that? Why did you do so much whole cluster? But I had no baseline, and I was just a dumb kid wanting to make some wines that I thought would be cool.
Mhm.
And then in 2013, it changed around. I had a better idea of protocols to follow, to try to just show what the grapes are. And it's not a wine making protocol where you do everything by the book, but it's just more about an idea that you have and how to achieve the idea.
Cool.
I think that I was definitely up a few nights with the Tempranillo, kind of pissed off at it, and doing bench testing. But the relief on the other side of the coin is that you feel after saying, wow, it's not a reductive problem. This is the wine. And you definitely start to feel more confidence. And part of that too, going back to my kind of broken record at this point, but with the Kramers, and they definitely kind of helped me and kept their eye on me a little. And if things were a little wonky, they would tell me and say, you know what, I think that you might want to do this because here's what could happen to your wine. But they would still leave it up to me.
Sure.
A couple times, definitely Kim and I got into some arguments about what I wanted to do with my wine, and she didn't think it was a good idea. I did. She won maybe 1 or 2. I won a couple, and
I'm sure she was really diplomatic about how she
hugely
presented that.
diplomatic. Yeah, you know Kim, she's very diplomatic. But it's over multiple bottles of wine and late nights and just winemakers arguing.
Extremely diplomatic.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
So another good question for you. So say in the, we're just starting the new year,
Yeah.
in the fall of 2014. If you could make one wine from 5 tons of grapes anywhere in the world for free, what would you make?
golly.
Really put you on the spot here.
See, that's a tough question. That's a bit unfair, but I have to go back to my roots.
Yeah.
If I could get truly prime Cabernet Sauvignon from Bordeaux, like some really amazing cab from a
Cool.
first growth.
Cool.
I mean, my
Yeah,
answer was
sure.
going to be
Anywhere in the world.
Grand Cru Pinot from Etchezeaux or something, a Romani Conti.
Yeah, you get
sure.
to pick.
Oh yeah, okay, great. Whatever. But
Bordeaux's delicious.
I as much as I love Burgundy, and
Yeah.
you guys know I talk about it all the time, but
Yeah.
Bordeaux, I would go there and make something. The only other thing I could say is Hermitage in Northern Rhone. If I could
Okay.
work with Syrah from those hillsides,
That'd be awesome.
I would probably commit a felony.
And that's why.
So
And that's why it's fun.
that's the one. Those are the 2 places in the world I would at this stage in my life.
And it's fun for us to drink with Beau because he grew up around wine and he like really got into it while living in California, which
Yeah.
is such a different experience than Chaz and I had, not growing up with it or growing up with terrible wine,
Yeah.
and really getting into good stuff from an Oregonian's perspective.
Yeah.
So it's that informs both our drinking together and the kind of stuff that you choose to make and what you put behind it. So
And that's not to say I'll never make Pinot Noir.
No,
I
no,
publicly have
I
said it
would-
to people, but
yeah.
one day I'll probably make Pinot Noir. I have Gamay Noir, Rosé in production right now. That's going to be Method Traditionnel at some point.
Cool
So
stuff.
That'd be interesting.
That's
Yeah.
going to be pretty wild, I think. And then I have a
Yeah.
Rosé of Gamay Noir coming out in May. So I am trying to toe a line between a bit of a Loire thing, bit of a Bordeaux thing, maybe some Rhone, and then staying true. I mean, I live in the Willamette Valley. I drink a lot of Pinot. I love our Pinot producers. They make amazing wine. So
They really do.
And as you get established, right, that's the fruit, the freshest, most
it is
direct
it is,
fruit
it
you
is.
got
That's
access
the best,
to, right? Like,
the best stuff you can get, I think, in the valley is Pinot Chard. And,
Yeah.
I don't know why people make Pinot Gris, but whatever. But Riesling too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we get great
Yeah.
Riesling here, so I could see myself in the future maybe doing some weird Rieslings.
yeah, you never know. There's a lot of great opportunities. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
So thanks for coming out.
Thank
This
you.
is a good time. I don't have any more questions for you, except you get to ask the question of the day.
Question of the day. Now that we are in 2014, this is for you guys that maybe buy wine frequently and infrequently, but do you have a region or type of grape you're honing in on for 2014? Is there something you want to educate yourself on this year and learn more about? Just for pleasure, for intellectual pursuit, whatever it may be. I'm just curious. I'd love to see that in the comments.
Man, that's such a good question.
Not the vintage specifically, but
No, just a grape or a region.
2012 Mosel Riesling. That's all I'm
Awesome.
That's all I'm
Awesome.
paying attention to right now.
Yeah.
I feel like I responded to you on Facebook about this, didn't I?
You probably did. I might be like ripping off someone else's.
Oh no, that's it. This is what I want to explore more. Barbera. I've had from anywhere. I've had a couple good bottles lately,
Love that.
and the price on it is always so low, and I feel like it is just the total neglected little brother of Nebbiolo. But it's still another grape that like the Italians have been making forever. And they put a lot of love into it, and I think there are.
It is the stepchild. Like,
Yeah.
It is totally the.
Nobody
stepchild.
it doesn't. Yeah, like nobody respects it. Like I want. I'm sure there are fantastic values to be had, and I want to find a couple of them.
High acid big reds are the place to be. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Pinots are great, but high acid
place
big
to
reds. Come on.
It's awesome.
Barbera, Nebbiolo,
Yeah.
Petit Verdot.
Petit Verdot, and this is. I really like this Petit
Thank you.
Verdot.
Thank you. Well, I'm
This
happy.
is
I'm psyched to
really
get this.
solid.
There's a fun wine
Really
to make.
juicy. Awesome
Yeah.
structure to back it up.